All right, today we're going to go ahead and talk about the rehabilitation process with pitchers. We see a lot of pitchers with different injuries, from shoulder and rotator cuff injuries to elbow, specifically the UCL. And so in this particular instance, we're rehabbing this young gentleman who's going to play collegiate baseball, and he is a pitcher. So there's certain range of motion goals that we want to get to, especially in the shoulder and the elbow. We're also going to talk about the hip as well, because that's going to ultimately downstream can cause injuries if you don't have the range of motion for the hip. Okay, so the first one we want to get this gentleman back to, go ahead and scan on here. You can see this gentleman had a UCL repair here. And so first thing we want to restore, because he's been in a brace and a sling, is full extension there, which he has. So that's step number one. Fantastic. Now with pitchers, they're going to have significantly more external rotation in their throwing arm than the average person does. So the average person at 90 degrees of abduction is going to have 90 degrees of external rotation, and somewhere between 70 and 80 internal rotation. Now with a pitcher, they're going to have, over the time and throwing and things like that, they're going to generate more external rotation, which is imperative for force production and things like that. So we're going to go ahead and measure his range of motion as he's again post rehab from surgery. So we're going to see if we've met our targets here. So for collegiate and professional baseball players, elite pitchers, I should say, they're going to be somewhere between 130 degrees of external rotation, kind of plus or minus 5. And so it's important that if they have too much external rotation, that's going to lead to increased shoulder instability and can cause problems. If they don't have full external rotation, then they're going to go ahead and produce more stress, possibly on the UCL, because they're trying to generate more force. Also, increased external rotation can also. So you want to have that rotation dialed in pretty good to prevent UCL injuries there. So looking at Jackson here, we're going to take him into 90 right there, and then we're going to go ahead and get our goniometer positioned. I'm going to go right there, and then we're going to go ahead and rotate him as far as you can. Go ahead, Jackson, and tell me when. About there is where we start to feel some blockage there. So we can go ahead and dial that in. You can have that arm back. So Jackson he's got about 140. So he's on the upper end right in there. So for him specifically, that range of motion is good because he's an elite pitcher, but we want to make sure that shoulder is bulletproof and have that rotator cuff nice and strong, okay? So range of motion is good. Now, one of the big measurements we look for is actually total arc of motion. And you really want that to be symmetrical to the other side, meaning there's about 180 degrees total arc of motion, give or take 5 between the two arms. So if he's got this 140 in full range of motion, we might expect only 40 degrees here of internal rotation. So we can go ahead and measure that, and he might have more than that, as he might have some increased laxity. About right there. You feel like it goes any further? I mean, maybe if you force it a little bit, but yeah. And so he's got about 50 degrees there. So he's probably pretty close to 190 there. I would go ahead and measure his other side and see how he's doing over there.